Okay, we're going to be factoring today. Now all we're doing is lining up parentheses, okay, over here. We're not putting x equals because there's no equals in the problem. So all you're doing is rewriting this into as many parentheses factors as we can. It's very similar to taking a 20, okay? Don't write this down, but it's a very similar concept to taking a 20 and rewriting it as 4 times 5, okay? But this is obviously more complicated than just a 20. So factor completely, we have 6x to the second power plus 18x. Now you should have your multiplication table in this. Now this row here, you do not look down that way unless you are doing the dots, okay? Only use that method for dots, not t-charts or anything. So in these problems, you're going to have 2 terms or 3 terms. Now in 2 terms, that's when we do GCF and we look at the dots. 3 terms is GCF t-table, okay? So this looks like it has 2 terms. So we'll be writing the GCF and then seeing if we have a difference of perfect squares. So this is your GCF. And then this is your difference of perfect squares. Now there's sometimes a box is crossed off, and that's fine. So the GCF, does the final slot have x? It does. Does the front term have a negative? No, it does not. Front slot does not. Now 6 and 18. So here's 6, here's 18. So both in row 6. Okay. So then I parenthesize this, and whatever I have in that parentheses is the whole thing is what I bring up here, not just 6. You got if you had brought in, if we agreed that it had an x in the last slot, you need to bring x with your 6 and divide. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. Now I had x second. Am I putting an x on the bottom? I am. So we have to divide the x's. It's very easy to do. You just take x. X's second is x times x. And that's x. Then you will have an x alongside your 1. Now 18 divided by 6 is 3. It's positive 3. And then x divided by x, we get a wipeout, so we don't put x alongside the 3. Now take the GCF over here. Just put it there. Then what you do after that is you cross this out and the original problem, because this is what we're looking at now, 1x plus 3. So dots, well, I know this is a no. I'm going to write no here because we can't have that be a positive. It's got to be a negative or have a minus, okay? Can't be that, okay? This has to be negative for it to be a dots, that second one, okay? So no. So if this is no, we just put that parentheses alongside the 6x. 1x plus 3. 1x plus 3, 1x plus 3. Sorry. Okay, that's all the simpler it can be. Okay, my next problem, negative 3x to the second plus, that's a 75. It looks like a negative 15, but it's actually the number 75. There's no negative. So that is 2 terms. So GCF, same 2 terms, same as before. So, do you have x in the last slot? No. Do you have a negative in the front slot? Yes. Okay. 3 and 75. So here's 3. 75. Oh, those are both in row 3. Remember, don't put x because you don't have an x there. Okay. So just negative 3. So you put that in parentheses, and whatever you have in there, negative 3, you bring up here, and that's what we're dividing by. So I divide by negative 3 by negative 3, that's 1. Now still on this line we have x second, but are we putting an x underneath there? No. So you keep the x to the second power. Then positive 75 divided by negative 3 is negative 25, and there are no x's there to worry about. Now you bring your GCF, the greatest common factor, the negative 3, you bring that over. Then you cross it out and cross this out. And we need to see if that's a dots, okay? And the answer is, well, let's see. You have the sign you want. 1 is 1 times 1. And then attached to the 1 is the x second. Well, the x second is x times x. So yeah, that's a perfect square, 1x times 1x. Now, is the 25 a perfect square? Well, yes, it is. That's 5 by 5. So yeah, that is something times itself. So we come down here, and we put the 1x and the 1x first in each parentheses, and after it you put the 5 and the 5. So what happens when you do this? Well, you get rid of this, and you bring these two, instead of bringing that over, you bring these two parentheses here over. So 1x plus 5 times 1x minus 5. Okay, next problem. 2x to the second power minus 4x minus 48. Now there are 3 terms, okay? So now we're not doing dots. So on a 3 term, we're never looking down here, okay? Don't do it, okay? So GCF and the T table. So I don't know about you, but there's no x there. There's no negative in the front. And then 2, 4, and 48. So here would be 2. Here's 4. Is 48 in there? Yeah, they'd be in row 2. So it'd be 2, but doesn't have a negative, doesn't have an x, just 2. So we just start dividing by 2 up there. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now also there's x second, but there's no x there, so that x will stay to the second power. Then negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And there's an x there, but there's no x on the bottom, so that x is going to stay. And then negative 48 divided by 2 is negative 24. Now you bring over your 2. Then you cross it out and cross out the original. So now we're just going with this. 1 times negative 24 is negative 24. Okay? So that's a mismatch. The signs have to mismatch as a positive and a negative. And we have to add them to try to get to the b value, which is negative 2. So 24 divided by 1 is 24. You add those, and it's negative 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 2 plus negative 12 is negative 10. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Add those, negative 5. These add to negative 5, so that doesn't work either. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Add those, and there's your negative 2. So now we put this in our parentheses. These first two will be crossed out. So you put in your positive 4 and your negative 6. Now to fill the rest of this out, okay, A equals, so when I did my ABC, the A was 1x to the second, okay? So the x second, we still go x, x. And then whatever is the A number in front, 1 goes in front of the ones. If that was a 4, I'd put 4, 4. If it was a 6, I'd put 6, 6, but it's a 1. Well, 1's nice because 1, so you can divide by 1, and it's just the same thing. So 1 and 6, same thing, just 1. So you divide by 1, and it's just the same thing. So 1x plus 4 times 1x minus 6. Okay, you put that after your 2. Because this thing here has been turned in to these two. Okay. Okay, 24x to the second power plus 6x minus 9. So you have 3 terms. Okay, same thing as on the last one. GCF. Then I do my T-chart. So there's no x at the end. There is no negative in this front slot. Now it's just going to be a number then. 24, 6, and 9. So there'll be no negative. There'll be no x. Don't put it. So here's 6. Nope. Well, here's 6 again. There's 9, and there's 24, so they're all in row 3. Just a 3, okay? So I go up and divide by 3. So you bring over your GCF or first off, that's 8. Now there's an x second, but we're not dividing it by x, so it's x to the second. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, positive 2, and there's an x, but we're not putting an x under it, so that will stay. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Now you bring over your GCF. That needs to be there. You cross out the GCF, you cross out the original problem, and we are trying to write that into 2 parentheses that's going to end up down there. So I find my A times C product. It's positive 8 times negative 3, and that would be negative 24. So that is a mismatch. And the mismatch has to add to positive 2. So 1 and 24. That adds to negative 23. That's not even close. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So I get 2, 12. So I add those. Negative 22. Nope. 24 divided by 3 equals 8, so 3 and 8, so I add 3 to negative 8, that's negative 5, nope. 24 divided by 4 is 6, so I add 4 plus negative 6, and I get negative 2, so stop dividing. You have the right number, you just got to make it into positive 2, which can be done if you're still going to have a mismatch. It'll just be positive here, and then negative here. Okay. Now you put in your parentheses, and you have negative 4 and positive 6. Now, this is all dependent in front of what the A is. It's 8x to the second power. Okay. So the x second, that's xx. Okay. And then 8, so you put 8, 8. Now you need to simplify it correctly. 8 and 4, if you don't know what to divide by, you look here, here's 4, here's 8, so it'd be 4. Now, they're also in 2's row, but that's why you go bottom up, because the first time you see 4 and 8, working your way from the bottom is 4 and 8. So the greatest common factor is 4, not 2, 4. So 2x minus 1. 8 and 6, okay? 8, nope. 8, no. Or 6, I should be looking for. 6, no. 6, no. 6 and 8 is 2. So it's going to be 4x plus 3. So this has become this. So I can cross that out and then put the 2 parentheses. 2x minus 1 times 4x plus 3. Okay, let's keep moving. 2x to the second power minus 72. So now we're back to 2 terms. So it's GCF DOPS. So now when I get to the DOPS, that's when I go this way. But first the GCF. There's no GCF's moving that way. Okay, there's no x, there's no negative, 2 and 72, okay? Now, here's 2, and I'm not seeing 72. So, if I don't have that, I do a Google search. Well, here's the deal. You don't know if there's 72 because the chart runs out. Now, a multiplication chart's infinite. My paper's just not big enough to have it go on forever. So then I go, on a Google search, I go GCF calculator. And I'm going to click that. Let's see if 72 would be in that row if it kept going along with 2. So I go the 2 numbers, 2 comma 72. Okay, I got a GCF of 2, so that means that they are both in the second row if it kept going. but just 2, no negative, no x. So then you parenthesize it, and you're just going to divide by 2. You can't divide by x, you can't divide by the negative. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and the x second, I'm not putting an x underneath there, so that's going to stay x second. Okay, then I go negative 72 divided by 2, you get negative 36. Now, before you do the dots, you bring over your 2, you cross it out, you cross out the original. Now, before we go down this row, okay, you got to check for your negative. It's there. Remember that positive times a negative is a negative, so that has to be there, and it is. 1 is 1 times 1. X to the second is x times itself, so 1x, 1x. Then, so that's 1x, 1x, then 36 is 6 times 6. So yeah, that's a minus, and those are perfect squares. So 1x, 1x. Don't go 1x, 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 1x. Go before the 2 operators. Then 6 and 6. Okay? So we'll be crossing that out and replacing it with this. Don't write this, you write these two. Okay, next problem. Negative 6x to the second power plus 12x. So that is 2 terms as well. So GCF dots. Okay, so at the end of the problem, at the final slot, you do have x, so we will be factoring out x. We'll also be factoring out a negative because we have a negative. Then 6 and 12 are both in row 6. So this time I have the whole shebang, okay? Not only do I have 6, I have a negative and an x I have to take up here with it. Okay, you just take what your GCF is. Okay, so negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. Then I divide, now, on this problem, I am putting an x underneath there, so I have to divide the x's too. That's easy to do. X second means x times x. And then x down here, that would wipe out one of the x's, but you still have this x here next to your 1. Positive 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Okay? Then you are putting an x, so you have to divide the x's, which in that instance is a complete wipeout, so don't put x alongside there. So you bring over your negative 6x, now you get rid of this, and you get rid of this, and you see if that can be broken down into a dots like this one did. You have the negative, and 1 is 1 times 1. But my x isn't to the second power, so that can't be x times x. So as soon as I can't do it, okay, I cross it out or write no. So instead of writing these 2 parentheses, you will use this one that you cannot break down. Okay. Next problem. 3x to the second power plus 9x equals 30. Now we're looking at 3 terms. So GCF table. So there it is. Now I'll make the parentheses after I come up with what's on the table. Okay. So I am not seeing x at the end. Okay. I am not seeing a negative in the front slot. 3, 9, and 30. So 3, 9, and 30. So it'd be 3. Just 3 though. You can't put a negative with it because no x with it. So I'm just dividing by 3. It's plain old 3. Not with x, not with negative because we don't have those here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now, the x to the second, we're not putting an x underneath, so that will remain as x to the second. Positive 9 divided by 3 is positive 3. There's an x there, but we're not putting an x there, so that will be x. The negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 10, and there's no x's to worry about. So you bring over your GCF, you cross out the GCF, and you cross out the original problem. So this is the only thing I want to look at. A, B, C. So you find your A times C product, 1 times negative 10. That's negative 10. So that is a mismatch, okay? It is a positive times a negative. And you are trying to add to the B, which is a positive 3. So 10 divided by 1 is 10. That adds to negative 9. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now 2 plus negative 5 is negative 3, okay? Now, you can stop dividing, okay? That's the right factor pairing. You just got to make the signs go to positive 3. You still need a mismatch. You still need positive, negative. You're just going to go positive here, negative here. You see, now they still mismatch, and you have positive 3 now. So you put in your negative 2, your positive 5, and the A, here's my A, it's 1, okay? So yeah, x second I write as xx, and then I apply a 1 in front, but those cannot simplify, okay? So 1 and 2 is in 1's row, so that will stay 1x minus 2. 1 and 5 are both in the 1 row, so I'll divide by 1. No, you don't always divide by 1. You're just dividing by 1 here because 1 and 5, the only row those are found together in is in the first row. That's the GCF. Okay, so 1x minus 2 times 1x plus 5. Also one thing, you know this has turned into these two parentheses. I have essentially rewritten this as 1x minus 2 times 1x plus 5. Okay, 8x to the second power minus 10x minus 12. Okay, that's 3 terms, so that would be GCF and the T chart again. Okay, so there's no x here, there's no negative there, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, so if I find a number, I'm not going to put x or a negative with it, it's just going to be the number. So 8, nope, 8, 12, there's no 10, okay? 8, 10, and 12 right in a row, so in 2's row, just the number 2 though. So you're just going to divide by 2. So that's 4. Now the x second, I'm not putting an x under it, so it will remain as x second. And then negative 5, there's an x, but I'm not putting x under it, remains as x. The negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Okay? So what do we do at the GCF? Bring it over, cross it off, cross out the original, and that's the new trinomial we need to put in factored form. Okay? I'm trying to rewrite this into 2 parentheses. A times C. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Okay? So that's a mismatch of a positive times a negative. And it's got to add to negative 5. 24 divided by 1 is 24. Add those. Nope. 24 divided by 2 is 12. That's negative 10. Okay. 24 divided by 3 is equal to 8. That 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. Okay, signs don't need to be switched because that already adds to the negative 5. Okay, so we put in our parentheses. Remember, when I get down here, these 3 terms here are what equals this. Okay. Positive 3, negative 8. Now, to know how to fill this out, your A, the x to the second, here's your A, it's 4. So x second, you're still going to write as x times x. Now, here's what I'll see people do. They'll take that 4 and they'll go here, 2, 2. No, you're not doing perfect squares, okay? You're not doing a difference of perfect squares. You need to apply the coefficient 4 in front, and then 4 and 3. Those are both in the first row, so you divide by 1, which you just keep it at 4x plus 3. Then 4 and 8 are both in the fourth row. And you will line those up. Now, before we line them up, I want to illustrate something. The numbers in front of the x's should multiply to your a. 4 times 1 is 4. The numbers behind the signs, 3 and 2, should multiply to your c. They do, so that has to be right. If the numbers in front of the x's multiply to anything else but the a is, 4 times 1 is 4. If they don't multiply to that a, the numbers in front of the x's, you did something wrong. Vice versa, the numbers behind the signs, the 3 and the negative 2, positive 3, negative 2, should multiply to the c. Okay? And there you have it.